oddly enough, of all things, this is my most frequently requested subject. So, since I'm probably not going to be remembered for my good looks here on this platform, maybe it will be for this. It's a heat gun stand, and so far as I've seen out there on the internet, there are no others quite like it. It fits, well, a number of brands. I've had 4 or 5 different ones, and they all tend to have the same barrel size. And it's made from an old shower valve. So the metal is brass, which makes it soft enough that it shouldn't damage this. Also, it dissipates heat quickly. The main body of it, this thing, serves as a central hub that the other 4 parts attach to. And what it is a mixing valve. It's called a mixing valve probably because it mixes hot and cold water, and then it can go out to the tub or the shower. Thus the 4 legs. The other parts are just some leftover fittings and some elbows, all screwed together to give it that nice stable stance. Its mouth is just barely over 1.5 inches wide on its inside diameter, and its throat is just over about 1 1/8 inches in depth. That's kind of important. You want the heat gun to bottom out there. Another feature that it has, though I didn't tap into this, is that you can pass air through it. Listen. Because it's a valve, and since the valve's stuck open because its guts are gone, it can just blow air out of the bottom. If one were so inclined, one could swap these elbows for T's, give it even more of a steampunk look, and then the heat gun could continue to run even though it's still plugged into the stand. At the beginning of this video, I kind of scoffed and laughed because it is odd that this is considered such a great idea. I don't really consider it such a great idea, but it is nice on occasion to have a stand, especially if you're working with a project right here and there are lots of little pieces involved and you just want to get this thing out of the way. It's pretty nice. Some heat guns are cleverly designed so that they'll stand on their backside like this, and those that aren't can be rather easily modified so that they will. This one just has a couple of rubber bumpers here and a piece of old tire there. But really, when you're in a hurry on a project, it's nice to just slam it back in place. It also keeps you from getting burned. So it is a pretty nice gizmo. It's worth owning one. The way that it has this sort of talon stance to it.
What? Large talons.
I don't understand the words you just said.
I don't know that I necessarily recommend that, and the reason being, sometimes it does this, and that can get kind of annoying. It also is hook-like and it gets caught on things. So you might be better off with something completely different, even though this is admittedly kind of cool looking. And by something different, I mean, let's talk about a couple ideas. If I'm going to pick on its design, I should point out that I think it's too tall. At 4 inches, that gives it a little bit of leverage to fall over. Not too much. This thing's very stable. But if we could lower this part, we could get the center of gravity lower, and then the stance wouldn't need to be so wide. Here's a nice heavy black iron fitting, and this thing almost does it on its own because it has such a low center of gravity. It's close. So by giving this a mount underneath it, you'd already be there. It's non-flammable, but it's too tall. I guess we could adjust the size if we open up the hole, which we can do like this. Pretty nice, but it still has a sharp spot there. We'll get some duck bills in there and try to roll that over. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, next, cut it off here and pour a little bit of concrete in the bottom. That would get 2 thumbs up. Here's another way, although the hole would have to be enlarged. But this one has a really wide stance, and aluminum is especially good at acting like a heat sink. It dissipates heat really quickly. Or take that useless satellite dish, as long as its pipe has 1.5 inches inside diameter, cut this part off, stuff it back in, and then it will even adjust for angle. Cool. You know, at its most basic, it's just a can that's being held down. So if you gave it a mounting block, attach it to a brick or something, or a piece of wood, that would be good enough for the purpose to see if you even like using a stand. But if I were to design the ultimate stand, I think I would do something like this. If you look at this part, it's an applesauce container that was stuck into the bottom of a stainless steel bowl and used as a mold to cast a concrete part. This was a water dish for some guinea pigs. If we were to do something similar, except in this hole we had a nice piece of copper pipe that had 1.5 inches inside diameter, but it were still a concrete base, I think that would probably be the ideal solution to this problem. Something that has a low center of gravity, a small footprint, a rugged, dependable design, something that's heavy, cheap. I would make one for you if I thought that this video would get views, but it's not going to, sorry. Okay, 2 methods that I might use in order to get what I want here. One would be to take some copper wire and wrap a tightly wound helix like this, that's the right diameter that I want, and then I would embed that in the concrete. Another method would involve using a piece of copper pipe, because a piece of copper pipe can be cut down its middle and then it can be unfurled and reshaped, because copper's really malleable. You can turn it into sheets. One piece of 1 inch will unfurl into 3.14159 inches pie. So there's a lot of stock to work with there. Once you make that sheet the right dimension, you could put that in place and then cast your concrete around it. Like I said, low center of gravity, copper lined, that would work really well. If you could pull it off, which I believe you can, good luck. Or ideally, you could just have somebody machine the perfect shape out of a solid piece of brass. That would be the bee's meow, or the cat's knees, or whatever the expression is.